morning was to give you a talk on the various practices, in depth, what they all mean and how they are interconnected and interrelated to each other, which would be good for teachers to listen to as well as meditators. But seeing that most of our people has gone to work, so what we are going to do, I was discussing this with Vidya this morning, that on the San Francisco course or the Midwest course, I'll do that tape and it will be posted on to you. I think that'll be a good idea. Yeah, and I'll post the tape on to you, giving you a total explanation of the mantra and the tratak and the prana, the works. Okay, so Vidya, please have the tape posted on. If all the people were here today, and unfortunately they had to go to work, so we'll send you a tape. Good. What shall we talk about this morning? Oh yes. Good, very good. No, we'll make a comprehensive job of it. And of course Vidya would send one tape, and of course you can always make copies and give it to whoever wants it. Your question? Right. Samskara shedding. Aha. Thank you. Well, actually it's not two questions, it's one question. Because it is through sanskaras that one suffers. Now, suffering is a mental concept, for the real self within never suffers. It is beyond all pain and pleasure, but it is only the mind, because of sanskaras, that a person goes through suffering. And yet if suffering is looked at objectively, then you will find it is no suffering at all. And if suffering can be made into an offering, then the impact of the suffering disappears. Now, when we say offering, it means that I am not suffering, and whatever is turbulent in my mind, I throw it out into the universe and let it land up wherever it wants to land. So, in that process, one develops a bhakti, which is one of the ways where a person becomes totally devotional. We've got hundreds and hundreds of letters on file where a person is going through some suffering, and they would look at my picture and say, Guruji, take it. And it goes. Invariably it goes, because suffering is something internal. But when you externalize it and offer it, then the internal impact diminishes. So that is the form of bhakti or Guru Shakti or whatever. Another process is analysis. If we analyze any kind of suffering, we will find that there is no real substance to the suffering. It is just thought forms that bother us. And even physical aches and pains, if viewed as an observer, the pains and aches will also diminish by themselves. And then, of course, these aches and pains of the body are only brought about by the thought forces in our minds. And these thought forces are formulated by the sanskaras that we have stored in our memory box, our subconscious mind. So, when the subconscious mind is clarified through our spiritual practices, then sufferings definitely diminish. It has to work itself out. It has to work itself out, but why not use the easier method? You have so many kinds of therapies, and many of these therapies, such as Gestalt, etc., or EST and others, they believe in a certain kind of confrontation. But you are not getting rid of the sanskaras. In those methods, you are just shifting energies from one place to the other, curing a toothache and get a headache, or the other way around. The whole idea to get rid of total suffering is to annihilate the sanskaras, to get rid of the sanskaras, and sanskaras belonging to the tamasic side of ourselves, one has to instill it with sattva, or the sattvic side of ourselves. So, the easiest and best method is we draw from within that spiritual force which wipes out the darkness, the inertia of the tamasic side, which is the suffering side of ourselves. So, no person in this world need to suffer. For example, I twist my ankle and it would be painful. Now remember, nobody twisted my ankle for me. I twisted it myself, which is analysis. You are analyzing. I twisted this ankle by myself, and I do feel some pain there, but I am responsible for that pain. And when I assume responsibility for my pain, I get a greater understanding of that pain. And by having the understanding, by admitting to yourself that I am the cause of my twisted ankle, then the pain lessens. I very seldom get a headache, because the mind is always calm and clear. But if I should have a headache, I take the pain outside myself, outside the head, and I look at it. Pain, huh? So you want to overpower me, do you? And the pain goes. Then I would analyze it, that what has caused this headache? Have I been overstraining myself in something that has caused this headache? And if I find that it was because of intensive reading or intensive concentration, then I just slow down on it for a little while and the headache goes. But I objectify that headache. I do not internalize it, because by internalizing it, the headache will grow worse. So, in other words, you are throwing it out of yourself, because that very pain is the mental concept. And if I can throw the concept out of myself, then naturally, with a change of concept, the headache will go. Now this applies in everything. There's trouble at home, for example, between husband and wife. So what they do is mull over that problem all the time. The wife or the husband goes to their offices and they would lack the concentration to do their work because the dominant factor was that squabble they had in the morning. So it detracts from your productivity and also from your efficiency. I think on some course I said that I do not remember anything. And that's a great gift that one could acquire. Because all these remembrances only strengthen the sanskaras. And when sanskaras are strengthened, they express themselves in a much more severe way than they would really not have done. So to become sanskara free is to become enlightened. But how many enlightened people are there in this world? But if they are not and go through all these sufferings and pains, they must just try and objectify them and regard it to be not within themselves but outside themselves. And it is really outside yourself. All suffering is outside yourself, not within yourself. You regard suffering to be within yourself because your mind says so. This is my suffering. This is my pain. This is my lamp. This is my chair. This is my table. Yes. And all this my, me and mine is what people live in. And therefore, the suffering comes about. Once the idea of me and mine is gone, the idea of me and mine is lost, then there is no suffering. No suffering at all. So, this would mean to become non-attached to suffering. We have made experiments where a person was put under torture. His both hands were put in a vice-like mechanism, and we could measure the pain of what that person is going through. But on his face there was a beautiful smile. Yes, see. While another that was put to a lesser amount of pain, 100 times lesser, he was grimacing and his face was contorted and distorted. The acceptance, we are taught the one person how to endure that pain by objectifying the pain. Yes. So, by objectifying the suffering, you're also getting rid of the sanskaras. You're also cleansing the subconscious mind that's filled with all kinds of impressions. Yes. For example, if you should eat very pungent or strong food, your mouth will burn, and the next morning you'll burn downstairs as well. Right. But for the person who is used to eating strong food, it will not be a suffering. To him or her, it would be a pleasure. So, by that, what I'm trying to say is your mental concept of things. And gradually you'd get used to it. And as you get used to it, you can develop the opposite quality. Some people eat bland food and some people eat very strong food. Now the bland food eater cannot stomach the strong food, and the strong food eater cannot stomach the bland food. Fine. So these are two opposites, depending what we attune our minds to. Same thing happens as far as suffering is concerned, that you can choose the opposite and get used to that which is non-suffering. Then nothing makes you suffer, nothing hurts you, because you are so filled with joy that everything just seems a play, lila, play of the divine. So, I must have said before that the mind is nothing else but a tool, and can be used in various ways. It could be put into misuse, and it could be put to good use. That which is comfortable for you, conducive to you, that would be good use. For another person, it would be something different. But we are talking of our individual selves. Now, it's the same tool, the same mind. If you give a knife a sharp knife to a hoodlum, he'll kill someone with it. But you give the same sharp knife to a surgeon, and he might be able to save someone's life with it. Yet it is the same knife. So, suffering can be alleviated to the extent of how much clarity we have brought to the mind. I know a lady who's a meditator of ours. She's in a wheelchair for the past 15, 16 years. Her arms, her legs were amputated, and her arms were lame. People had to feed her. She couldn't use her hands at all. But she was, and she is, the most happiest person in the world that I have seen. Such a person whose both legs are amputated and can't use the limbs, should be unhappy. But she is the most happiest person. If you are in her company, you would just not like to leave her. She bubbles and bubbles with joy. How beautiful. Look at the attitude that she has and that we had helped her to bring her to the point of that particular attitude. So, therefore, all suffering comes from the mind. And if the mind can be brought into a certain clarity, then suffering automatically will diminish. It will not hold any substance at all. And like that with spiritual practices, we are wiping away all the impressions or sanskaras that we have in our mind. For example, some people are very superstitious. Slightest little thing. I know of one man that when he's driving on the road and a black cat crosses the path, he will make a U-turn. Yes, this is true. He will make a U-turn because he thinks that is bad luck. His mind. But one day it happened that a black cat crossed the path and he made a U-turn, and just a bit further along, another car crashed into him. But if he had gone straight, ignoring the black cat, this car would have not crashed into him. You see how all kinds of superstitions exist in people's minds. And like that, I suppose many cultures have different ways of thinking. In Japan, if a cat sneezes, they say it is good luck. In certain parts of India, if a cat sneezes, they say it's going to rain. Right. And now that bothers the mind. It will not rain. And yet the family is preparing to go on a picnic. But the cat sneezed, and they said, oh, it's going to rain. Cancel the picnic. Robbing the children of their joy they were looking forward to. You see. So what I'm trying to say, the point I'm trying to make, that suffering is only from the mind. If I break my ankle, I know that it will be painful, but I view it objectively, and half the pain is gone. So, suffering is definitely connected with the mind, and of course the mind is composed of our sanskaras. And when we clarify our sanskaras, then you will know that suffering is never there. So, sanskaras interprets itself in karmic values. Our karma creates sanskaras, and sanskaras reacts in... Good. Most of our people are gone. Well, it's 12 o'clock. So, what I would like to say, thank you very, very much for your very kind hospitality, and all of you that have been working so hard to put this course together, Hugh and Chetanji and others. And thanks to Sumati Ban also, and everyone else for making my stay very, very enjoyable. Thank you very much. And I love Victoria, BC. Lovely word, BC. I'm sure Victoria existed before Christ.